So I recently completed the Light Blade Conquest mission, solo flawless. Alright, you can do the same thing. Just go ahead and set up this build, which is designed for a -50 environment, and go crazy. Who needs a fire team to fight ogres? Look at that, you can just do it yourself. Why? Because this build gives you amplified, bolt charge, Ionic Traces, you can blind combatants, you can jolt combatants, you get woven mail, you can create Threadlings, you can unravel combatants, and you can sever targets. Now FYI, the strand abilities will come from the artifact that we're going to use for this build. It's also tied to the grenade launcher that we're going to be using. With that said, let's get into it. Go ahead and head over into your subclass and select Arc. You want to go ahead and equip Gathering Storm. For the abilities, we are rocking Gambler's Dodge. Why? Because we want to generate melee ability energy when dodging your combatants. Moving on, we have Triple Jump. Combination below. This attack will increase your melee damage when defeating a target. Check it out, you can get 3 stacks. Defeating targets with this grants class ability and it restores a portion of your health. Moving on to the foundation of the build, we have the Skip Granada. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry, I'm gonna get into this later on. It's gonna tie into the exotic arms that we rocking. Looking at the aspects, we have Tempest Strike. We're gonna use our charged melee while sliding to activate an uppercut, which is gonna damage and jolt targets. Now upon defeating those jolted targets, guess what? That's gonna grant a stack of bolt charge. So check it out, this is our first source for acquiring a bolt charge. Moving on, we have Ascension. While airborne, you're gonna go ahead and consume your class ability to summon an arc staff, which is gonna propel yourself upwards. Guess what? You can create a burst of energy that's gonna grant you and your allies amplified. And you also get to jolt targets. So we have Tempest Strike that's gonna jolt targets, and we have Ascension that's gonna jolt targets. Moving on to the aspects, we have Spark of Frequency. Melee hits increase your equipped weapons, reload speed, and stability for a short duration. Since we're already amplified from Ascension, right? That's going to give us increased stacks of bolt charges from all our sources. As of now, we only discussed one source for bolt charge, which is what? Tempest Strike. Moving on, we have Spark of Resistance. Now check this out, while within 15 meters of at least 3 enemies, you'll receive 25% DR. Now this is already going to stack with the DR that we get from Amplified. I don't know if y'all noticed, but when you're Amplified, you gain 15% DR. So now we got Spark of Resistance and Amplified working for us, considering our playstyle and how we're going to be so aggressive with this build. Moving on, we have Spark of Discharge. Arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an Ionic Trace. Now check this out, collecting an Ionic Trace grants a stack of bolt charge. This is our second source for acquiring bolt charge. On to the next, we have Spark of Ions. Defeating jolted targets or defeating a target with bolt charge creates an Ionic Trace. Now check it out, that feeds into Spark of Discharge. So each time we collect an Ionic Trace, guess what? We'll then receive a stack of bolt charge. And how are we jolting targets? We're using Tempest Strike and we're using Ascension. Last but not least, we have Spark of Shock. Here is our third source for jolting targets. And considering we're running the Skip Grenade build, we're gonna have crazy uptime on grenades. Now look at the stats. We have 15 in health. If you can, try to minimize this. If you can leave this at 0, go for it. We have 25 melee, 200 granada. You wanna go for 200 grenade. I mean, this is a grenade build, right? So yeah, go crazy, maximize your grenade. Next, we have 100 super, followed by 100 class. And then whatever you have left, dump it into weapons. Moving on from the subclass, let's take a look at the armor set bonus. We are rocking Exodus Down. If you don't have this, head over to Nessus and farm a Master Lost Sector. Now with this armor set, gaining, losing, or consuming armor charges restores HP and it grants stacks of repurposed charge. Now for those who don't know, repurposed charge, it grants DR per stack. So you can have up to 7 stacks, which will give you 35% DR. Now with this build, with this setup, we're running special finisher on our class item. And so with that said, we'll receive 29.5% DR upon finishing an ad. Because special finisher will grant us 4 stacks of repurposed charge. So quick recap, we're getting 15% damage resistance from Amplified, 25% from Spark of Resistance, and 29.5% from Exodus Down. Not gonna lie, that's good energy. Now let's talk about weapons. The only must-have and non-negotiable is Festival Flight. You're gonna need this. The 2 perks you wanna look for, Slice and Attrition Orbs. So how do we proc slice? All we need to do is cast our class ability. This will then allow the weapon to sever targets. Now, for those who don't know, when you sever a target, that's going to decrease the enemy's outgoing damage by 40%. So we already got crazy DR from Amplified, Spark of Resistance, Exodus down. Now we're severing targets. Now for my energy weapon, I'm rocking Risk Runner. Now keep in mind, you can equip any weapon you want for this slot. The only reason I equipped Risk Runner was just for the extra DR with Arc Conductor, for the Mission Light Blade of course. Arc Conductor gives you 50% arc damage resistance. Moving on, we have Refurbished A499 equipped. Again, remember, you can rock any weapon that you want for this slot and the energy slot. The only non-negotiable is the kinetic slot, which is Festival Flight. For Refurbished A499, we're rocking Snapshot Sights and Aggregate Charge. Now with Aggregate Charge, this weapon deals more damage for each elemental debuff that you have applied. Guess what? With this build, we can blind, we can jolt targets, we can sever, and we can unravel them. Now, if we want to maximize damage, we need to ensure we apply 3 unique buffs. So let's say, for example, Arc, which is blind and jolt. Let's say Strand, which is sever or suspend or unravel. And then let's say Void, for example, suppression, volatile, weaken, or Scorch, ignition. With this build, we're only going to be able to apply 2 debuffs, which is, again, blind jolt, unravel, and sever. So with those 2 unique debuffs applied, that's going to put us at 22% increased damage. That's because we have an enhanced trait. If the trait wasn't enhanced, then we will only get 20%. Now let's take a look at the mods that we have equipped on this build. We have Ashes to Assets. This is good considering we're just going to be spamming grenades. Jolting and discharging our stacks of bow charge. Moving on, we have Heavy Ammo Finder. This provides a 1.33 ammo progress multiplier. Next, we have a Harmonic Siphon for creating orbs of power. Next, we're rocking 3 copies of firepower. Why? Because again, we're spamming grenades, right? And with us having 3 copies equipped, that's going to give us a 1-second cooldown between generating orbs. All right, so looking at the chest piece, this is going to be situational, all right? Keep in mind that elemental mods reduce mod matching elemental damage. So for example, if you have arc resistance equipped, that's going to reduce incoming arc damage. Now, if you have 1 copy equipped, that's 15% DR. If you have 2 copies equipped, that's 25%. And of course, since there's diminishing returns, if you have 3 copies of arc resistance, you will have 30% DR. So prior to loading up an activity, make sure you check the modifiers. If there's a solar threat where you take 66.6% increased damage from solar, you probably want to rock 2 copies of solar resistance, right? For that 25% DR. So again, be sure to check the modifiers. Moving on to the legs, we have Innervation. Each time we pick up an orb of power, that'll reduce the grenade cooldown. You'll receive 10% grenade ability energy, alright, for having 1 copy. Now, we're going to be printing orbs because we got 3 copies of firepower on our arms, alright? So, this is good to have. Next on the list, we have Absolution. So, each time we pick up an orb of power, that's going to grant 5% ability energy to what? Grenade, melee, and class. Next, we have Orbs of Restoration. Since we have 1 copy, guess what? This is going to give us 10% ability energy to the least charged ability. Of course, you also have to pick up an Orb of Power for this to work. Looking at the class item, we have Special Finisher. Now, when we think about a -50 environment, right? We need to be able to print special ammo. So how do we do that? We're going to get kills by proccing firepower on our gauntlets to generate an Orb of Power. Boom. As we pick up an Orb of Power, that's going to give us 1 stack of armor charge. Once we have 3 stacks from picking up 3 orbs, guess what? Now we need to just finish an enemy. That's going to generate a special brick for us. And your teammates, of course, if you have a fire team. Powerful Attraction. This is pretty straightforward. Automatically collects nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. Last but not least, we have Reaper. So check this out. On class ability usage within 15 meters of an enemy, this will grant grenade, melee, class, and super energy. How much? 4% for 1 copy. That 4% is for your grenade, melee, and class. For the super, it's going to be 2% for 1 copy. For weapon mods, we have Abundant Ammo on Festival Flight, and we have Enhanced Reload on Refurbished A499. Now let's check out the artifact. Be sure to equip Tablet of Ruin. First things first, we have Unraveling Orbs. So picking up an Orb of Power or a Tangle grants Strand Weapons Unraveling Rounds. Now we're rocking Festival Flight. So now, since that's a Strand Grenade Launcher, we're going to have Unraveling Rounds for that. Moving on, we have Dielectric. Defeating arc debuffed targets grants bolt charge. So now we have 3 sources for acquiring bolt charge. We have Tempest Strike, Spark of Discharge, and now Dielectric. And rapidly defeating arc debuff target spawns an orb of power and heals a small portion of health. So how do you debuff targets? By simply jolting or blinding. Now we have 3 sources for jolting. Remember, we have Tempest Strike, we have Ascension, and we have Spark of Shock. Next we have Horde Shuttle. This is for Festival Flight. The Stranded Grenade Launcher we're rocking. Damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling. Threadlings sever targets. So picking up an orb of power will give us unraveling rounds. Damaging an unraveling target will create a Threadling. Threadlings will sever other targets. Next we have Flash Over. When you gain maximum bolt charge, you also become amplified. Lightning bolts deal more damage. So we become amplified from Ascension, and we become amplified from this artifact mod. Now remember I said with this build we're able to blind combatants? Check it out. With Photonic Flare, defeating an exhausted or severed target with arc damage releases a blinding burst. Now because we're using Festival Flight and we're creating Threadlings, remember Threadlings will sever targets. If we're defeating those severed targets with arc damage, boom, that's gonna blind other targets. Now remember I said this build can get Woven Mail, right? Check it out. Dealing sustained damage to severed targets unravels them. Defeating a severed target creates a hotspot of strand energy, granting Woven Mail to nearby allies for a short duration. For those who don't know, Woven Mail grants 45% damage resistance for 10 seconds. So now we have Woven Mail, we have Amplified, we have Spark of Resistance, and we have Exodus Down. That's a lot of DR for this build. Not to mention, we also get healing from Combination Blow and Dielectric from defeating arc debuff targets. We also get healing from the exotic, which I'm going to cover next. Something else I want to call out with this perk, it feeds into the other perk, what was it, Horde Shuttle? Remember with Horde Shuttle, damaging unraveled targets with a weapon will occasionally spawn a Threadling. And remember those Threadlings, what do? They go and sever other targets. Now check this out. As long as we're dealing sustained damage to those severed targets, it's gonna unravel them. And then guess what? We have another chance of spawning a Threadling. And if we're defeating the severed targets, now we're creating hotspots of strand energy. That's actually wild work. Last but not least, we have Defibrillating Blast. With Defibrillating Blast, stunning a champion grants maximum stacks of bolt charge, and damaging targets with bolt charge bolts, jolts them, and heals you. So we have 4 sources when it comes to acquiring bolt charge, right? We have Tempest Strike, Spark of Discharge, Dielectric, and Defibrillating Blast, which also gives us healing in addition to the exotic arms, which we're going to cover next, Combination Blow, and Dielectric. Last but not least, the missing piece to the puzzle. Here we go. Shinobu's Bow, the exotic gauntlets. You gain an additional skip grenade charge. Skip grenade damage grants bolt charge. Ladies and gentlemen, we officially have 5 sources that can provide bolt charge. And guess what? Gaining bolt charge grants skip grenade energy. When bolt charge is ready, you heal nearby allies and enhance your next skip grenade. I got nothing else to say. That's a GG. Go ahead and equip the exotic arms. It's a crazy build. You are now ready to run through any minus 50 GM or ultimate conquest. That's all she wrote, fellow demigods. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and drop your boy a like, sub to the channel, share the video with a friend, someone who could benefit from it. GG's.